Farm dams play an important role in agricultural production, providing water for livestock and irrigation. However, livestock can often sit around the edges of the dams, plugging up the banks and polluting the water with urine and feces. As a result of livestock impacts, dams often have very little to no vegetation. Contaminants from livestock and overland flows not only pose a risk of disease, but can contribute to toxic algal blooms. Excluding livestock from dams can increase vegetation cover and therefore increase water quality. Research shows that livestock consuming high quality water can have production increases anywhere from 10 to 25% compared to those who are consuming low quality water. Farm dams play a crucial role in farm landscapes, providing habitat for native wildlife, filtering runoff from rainfall events, and also ecosystem services, much like natural wetlands. Participating landholders took part of on-farm projects, including fencing off farm dams to exclude livestock, providing alternate water sources like troughs, and revegetation for habitat and water filtration. The project goals were successfully achieved, with landholders reporting numerous benefits, including improved drought preparedness, better grazing management, and improved options for farm dam management. The project aimed to integrate with extension programs and provide sites for field days and demonstration of different approaches to managing farm dams. This has been successfully used in the current Enhancing Farm Dam program. The project provides sites and real farm examples that can be used in further case studies to document the effects of farm dam enhancements on local flora and fauna while supporting production and increased water quality for livestock.
The end of the drought, I think 2019 we got...
Farm dams are an essential part of water security for farms. So there's so much value to actually improving the condition of that farm dam by fencing it out for those that you can. So water quality is an obvious benefit in terms of stock health, production outcomes, etc. Another benefit of fencing a farm dam out is you're often going to do it on your favourite dam, and it's a nice place to go and sit. There are also lots of ecosystem services. We use this term ecosystem service. It really just means free services that come from the natural world or the ecosystem around you. Farm dams are habitat for all sorts of insects. Those insects provide essential food for the birds and the frogs and the reptiles and habitat, especially where there's other habitat on the farm for them. So they're like a focal point.
Enabling some of those species to survive.
Local Land Services, and in particular Northern Tablelands Local Land Services, we have a strategic plan. It identifies goals that we have to achieve, and one of those is to maintain and enhance biodiversity and natural resources on farms. Whilst acknowledging that farms are all about production, we want to maintain and retain the natural environment, make sure that it's supporting all the farming practices that we're doing, and part of that is protecting and enhancing habitat for wildlife. Local Land Services is really keen to assist farmers or provide information to them that might inform them on how they can best improve abundance and persistence of wildlife on their farms.
We've read about one of our cows here that's black, but she carries the red gene.
Well, I had already developed a water management plan for about 300 hectares here. That was to be our steer running area. It had been used as cropping land, and it was suffering from having had cropping style drainage systems put in, which were causing a lot of erosion. And it had multiple dams that weren't filling. They were very sludgy, they weren't in the water flow, and they'd been used by cattle a lot, so their edges were extremely damaged. I was really conscious that water's a key ingredient to growing any sort of anything on your property, and I was losing lots of it, plus lots of my topsoil down to Beaver's Gully off this 300 hectares. During that period of time, I'd been reading an LLS newsletter and knew that they had a dam project coming up. I knew I had about 8 dams out in that area, 3 really key ones that ran in a chain down to the gully, and they were 3 of the ones that were really key to keep us wet areas in the farm. They were larger dams and very central to that area. So I applied for the funding to have them fenced off and received it. We have gone ahead and fenced all the dams in that particular 300 hectares off, so the cattle only have access to them when we need them to. That allows the dams to regenerate, and they now all have forage or ground cover right down to the water. They're pretty much all full. The dams now all have good vegetation around them. They act as a biodiversity hotspot in the landscape, and they also act as a wetland for me and encourage a whole lot of insects, birds, frogs, all the things that you want to have for a healthy ecosystem.
In saying what Rachel's just said about what Susan's doing here at Arrawatta, we've lost 0 production value out of that. When we took on management was only about 8 or 9 months ago now. Susan has done the project with the LLS on the dam water, and it has shown us that there's some really cool things that you can do with water in the landscape. We have the ambition of continuing that across the whole farm because we've seen a lot of advantages in that. The livestock are watered primarily off of a bore pumped to a reticulated water system, you know, good clean water. However, the dams provide a really good reassurance that we have a backup water system should our primary fail. But then they also providing this really cool environmental outcome of having small ecosystems that we can nurture. You know, we can put some better bird habitat, insect life, all of that kind of stuff are in those fenced off dam areas, which we don't allow the livestock access to unless the case of emergency. The benefits of the project that they've undertaken here at Arrawatta has sort of shown us that we can hold water within the landscape here for longer. It doesn't mean that we're keeping it forever. It just means by doing the work that we've done, we're sort of slowing the flow of the water through the landscape. It means that we get to benefit from additional feed growth and the tree cover and all of the things that the microclimates and small environments provide around the dam water systems.
I've been looking at that little catchment and the area around that dam before this project came along, and it was an area I was interested in regenerating and slowing the water down and filtering the water through. And so when the project came along, I applied and was successful in getting the funding to fence it off. I picked a farm dam in the catchment that runs from the neighbour's property into mine and then into the Bergen-op-Zoom Creek. The criteria around this project fit in really well with what I was hoping to do with that area. I mean, before that I hadn't really thought about fencing off the entire area. Upon reflection, that was exactly what it needed, the exclusion of livestock and revegetating the area. So it was perfect for what my long-term goal was for that part of the property and for the broader property. In terms of the topography, I suppose, of my place, it's sort of high up and right on the boundary. And the idea there was just to filter water coming onto my property rather than filtering water through the property or as it leaves. The surrounding paddocks I use for lambing paddocks. And the problem with that is that a lambing ewe low on energy has trouble drinking out of a dam, particularly in dry times. They can become bogged. And to avoid that, I was interested in excluding them from this particular dam, ensuring that they had cleaner, better quality water in troughs away from the dam. So part of this project was installing a trough in a lambing paddock. So the dam, since I've fenced it out, has remained nearly full despite low rainfall in parts of the year. But having that just for biodiversity as a bit of an offset and also as an emergency water source is nice to have.
So as part of the Enhancing Farm Dam program, Razak did acoustic monitoring of frog populations, and then I helped him with some flora surveys to look at what was going on between the fenced farm dam or the enhanced farm dam and the unfenced farm dam that was open to stock. And In terms of the frog species, there was pretty much the same. Frog species were present at both dams, but the abundance and the activity of those frogs was way, way higher at the Fence Dam. And in line with that, the flora survey showed quite similar plant species present, but massively more abundant, so much more habitat, food resources, insects. It was just chalk and cheese between the two dams. So the two kind of go hand in hand, and visibly different water quality as well.
If you're interested in how you can enhance your farm dam, contact your local Land Services office today. This video is supported by the Australian Government through the funding from the Natural Heritage Trust under the Climate Smart Agricultural Program.